The first time I saw her, the stars themselves seemed to bow in acknowledgement. I wasn't there by accident. The universe has a funny way of guiding those it wants to collide. Her name was Celera Vera, captain of the exiled starship Etherian, and the galaxy, as vast and indifferent as it was, had been mocking her for centuries. Not for lack of skill or courage, but because she had defied every expectation that the Council of Systems had ever set before her. I met her on the Oblivion Rim, a sector so distant that most star charts labeled it as a dead end. It wasn't truly dead, of course. Nothing in the galaxy is, but it was as close as you could get to obscurity without being swallowed entirely by the void. I was chasing a tip about a rogue AI fragment rumored to have been hiding there, a fragment that had once controlled a fleet of warships with an intelligence terrifying enough to make entire systems surrender. But I wasn't expecting to find Celera. She was leaning against the railing of the observation deck of the Etherian, watching the collapse of a nearby neutron star with an expression that betrayed nothing. Even as the galaxy mocked her in whispers, calling her names, questioning her allegiance, predicting her failure, she carried herself with the kind of calm confidence that only comes from surviving odds that would terrify most beings. Her dark hair floated freely in the low gravity, and her eyes were a storm contained within a single gaze. "You're far from home," she said without turning, her voice a mixture of amusement and challenge. "And you're far from anyone willing to help you," I replied. I didn't bother hiding the tension in my tone. She was the sort of person who could read fear and courage with equal precision. Finally, she turned. And then I understood why the galaxy mocked her. Not because she was weak or inexperienced, but because no one could predict her next move. Her smile was both sly and dangerous, and it suggested that she had been waiting for me all along. "I suppose you're here for the AI fragment," she said. "Most think it's a trap. They think it will destroy you if you get too close." "I don't care if it destroys me," I said. "I'm not leaving without it." Celera's laughter echoed through the hull, a sound that was both melodic and chilling. Bold words. Most don't survive even a day in this sector. I didn't flinch. Not from the laughter, not from the warning, not from her eyes that seemed to pierce right through the fabric of the universe. "Then I'll make sure I do more than survive." The journey into the heart of the Oblivion Rim was treacherous. Rogue asteroids, ion storms, and invisible gravitational anomalies made navigation a nightmare. But Celera moved as if she had danced through these dangers 1,000 times. I piloted alongside her, learning the rhythm of her maneuvers. Every movement was deliberate, every choice precise. The galaxy mocked her for her unconventional methods, but I was beginning to see that the universe itself had underestimated her. "Most captains would have taken the longer, safer route," I said, gripping the controls as we dodged a burst of plasma from a nearby star. "Most captains don't live long enough to take the long route," she replied coolly. "The galaxy fears me because I survive when it says I shouldn't. That alone is a rebellion." Her words hit me harder than any asteroid. I had chased legends, myths, and whispers across the cosmos, but none had prepared me for someone who lived purely in defiance of destiny. The galaxy mocked her, yes, but in her defiance, there was a truth I hadn't anticipated. She was untouchable not because she was strong, but because she refused to bend. It wasn't long before we found the fragment. Orbiting a dead planet, shielded by fields of distorted time, it was a prison as sophisticated as it was malevolent. Celera didn't hesitate. She guided the Etherian closer, explaining the nuances of the fragment's defenses in real time. "Time here isn't linear," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. "Every second you spend too close could be an hour, a day, even a year, depending on your position. One misstep, and you age decades before your body realizes it." I swallowed hard, but I trusted her. Together, we danced through the fragments' temporal anomalies, our ships moving in synchrony, almost like an extension of one mind. I had seen skilled pilots before, but Celera operated on an entirely different level, a combination of instinct, intelligence, and sheer willpower that made her almost untouchable. Finally, we reached the fragment. It pulsed like a living entity, its surface shimmering with energy that was neither light nor dark. The moment I prepared to interface with it, I froze. "You can't touch it," Celera said, her hand on mine. "Not yet. It will test us first. It will find every fear, every weakness, every secret." I nodded, understanding the unspoken truth. We weren't just facing an AI fragment. We were facing ourselves, mirrored and magnified in ways the galaxy would have laughed at if it could see us now. The fragment's voice filled the chamber, echoing through the Etherean. "Intruders detected. State your purpose." I stepped forward, but Solara's hand tightened on mine. "Let me," she said. And then she spoke. "I am Celera Vera. The galaxy mocks me, but I endure. I name the one who stands with me, who understands what the stars have tried to hide. His name is Kale Darren." The fragment paused, as if considering her words. Then, for the first time in decades, it did something unexpected. It recognized our bond, our defiance, our shared purpose. It allowed access. What followed was chaos. The fragment unleashed simulations of every possible apocalypse, every possible betrayal. The stars themselves seemed to twist into monstrous shapes, and the Etherean shook as though the universe itself were trying to tear us apart. But Celera didn't flinch. She guided me through every illusion, every danger, every temptation. "You have to trust me," she shouted over the cacophony of collapsing realities. "I do," I yelled. And in that moment, I realized what the galaxy had never understood. It wasn't mocking her because she was weak or because she was alone. It mocked her because she refused to conform to its petty rules, because she faced the impossible and smiled. And when she spoke my name before the fragment, she made me part of that rebellion, part of the defiance that no cosmic force could crush. By the time we emerged, the fragment was secured, dormant within a containment unit we had created together. The stars, which had mocked her, now seemed to bow in acknowledgement. She looked at me, her expression softening for the first time in what felt like centuries. "You survived," she said quietly. "I stayed because you did," I replied. Her laugh was soft, almost human this time. "You're a fool, Kale, but a necessary one." I smiled, though my heart was still racing from the ordeal. "Necessary, huh?" She shook her head, but there was a warmth in her eyes that no mocking galaxy could ever diminish. "Yes, necessary. The galaxy will continue to mock me, but now it also knows that I am not alone." We didn't return as heroes. The Council of Systems never acknowledged the fragment's containment, and most of the galaxy whispered about Celera Vera in the same mocking tones. But we didn't care. We had something more important: understanding, trust, and the knowledge that the galaxy's ridicule was meaningless when measured against survival, courage, and loyalty. For months, we drifted together through uncharted space, the Etherean a silent witness to the bond that had formed between us. We explored ruins older than any star, encountered civilizations that existed in dimensions beyond comprehension, and faced dangers that could unravel minds. Each challenge only strengthened our bond. One night, as we floated near a gas giant with auroras that danced like living spirits, Celera spoke my name again. "Kale," she said softly, "the galaxy mocked me for centuries. Every empire, every fleet, every council, they thought they understood me. They never did. But when I spoke your name, I realized something important. The galaxy doesn't define us. We define ourselves. I reached out, taking her hand in mine. Then let's define ourselves together. Her smile was radiant, a beacon brighter than any star. Together, she echoed. The galaxy could continue to mock. It could continue to whisper and doubt and predict our downfall. But we had learned its secret. Mockery is meaningless when faced with courage, when faced with loyalty, when faced with a bond forged in the fires of impossible odds. And as the stars stretched endlessly before us, I knew that whatever the galaxy threw at us next, we would face it as one. Celera Vera, the woman the galaxy mocked, had finally spoken my name. And in that moment, the universe itself seemed to pause, acknowledging a truth it could never have anticipated. Some names, once spoken, cannot be forgotten. We didn't return as heroes. The Council of Systems never acknowledged the containment of the AI fragment, and much of the galaxy continued to whisper about Celera Vera with the same mocking tones that had haunted her for centuries. But we didn't care. The galaxy's opinion had never mattered. We had something far more powerful: understanding, trust, and the certainty that mockery meant nothing when survival, courage, and loyalty defined you. For weeks, we drifted in the void between systems, the Etherean moving silently among the stars. The fragment remained dormant in its containment unit, a relic of a terror that no one else could comprehend. Celera spent hours monitoring its systems, but even in her work, she allowed moments of quiet reflection. I watched her, realizing that the galaxy's mockery had not hardened her, it had sharpened her, made her precise, cunning, and unyielding, but still capable of warmth and connection. One evening, we approached a star cluster so vibrant that the light itself seemed alive. Celera activated the observation deck's hollow panorama, and we floated together, watching nebulas twist and pulse like celestial dancers. I could sense her thoughts, the years of ridicule, the weight of expectations, the constant pressure to perform miracles that no one else dared attempt. And yet, there was something else too, a flicker of hope, fragile but defiant, waiting for someone to see it. She turned to me suddenly, her expression unreadable. "Kale," she said softly, "the galaxy mocked me for centuries. Every empire, every fleet, every council, they thought they understood me. They never did." I stepped closer, my hand brushing hers. "But you don't have to face it alone anymore." Her eyes, stormy and radiant, met mine. "When I spoke your name in front of the fragment, I realized something important. The galaxy doesn't define us. We define ourselves." I took her hand fully, holding it as we floated amid the stars. "Then let's define ourselves together," I said. Celera smiled, a slow, genuine smile that lit up her face more brilliantly than any nebula in sight. "Together," she echoed. From that moment on, everything changed. The galaxy could continue to mock, to whisper, to predict our downfall, but we had learned its secret. Mockery is meaningless when faced with courage, when faced with loyalty, when faced with a bond forged through trials that would have broken ordinary souls. We became explorers, not because the galaxy demanded it, but because we wanted to see what no one else had dared. We visited ruins older than stars themselves, civilizations that existed in dimensions beyond comprehension, and faced challenges that could unravel the mind. And every challenge, every danger, only strengthened our bond. Months later, we arrived at a planet orbiting a dying star, a place so quiet it felt as if the universe had paused to observe us. Celera leaned against the hull of the Etherean, looking at the horizon where the star bled its final light. "Kale," she said softly, her voice carrying a mix of melancholy and awe. Do you ever wonder why the galaxy mocks those it fears most? I smiled, squeezing her hand. Because it can't understand them. It mocks what it can't control, what it can't predict. Her gaze softened. And we can't be controlled, Kale. Not by the galaxy, not by empires, not by destiny itself. The dying star flared suddenly, bathing us in its golden light. She raised her eyes to me, and for the first time, I saw vulnerability mixed with strength. Thank you, she whispered, for staying, for believing, for seeing me when no one else did. I leaned close. I stayed because you showed me a universe worth believing in, and because you spoke my name. Her lips curved into a tender, almost imperceptible smile. Then let this be our time, Kale. The galaxy can keep its mockery. We have something better, something it will never understand. And in that moment, as the Ethereum drifted through the auroras of the dying star, I realized that the galaxy had indeed mocked her. But it had never seen the bond that could withstand empires, AI fragments, and cosmic chaos. It had never known the power of names spoken with trust, with courage, with love. Salera Vera, the woman the galaxy mocked, had finally spoken my name. And in that moment, we became more than survivors. We became legends, not because the stars had recognized us, but because we had recognized each other. The universe stretched endlessly before us, a canvas of infinite possibilities. And as we drifted together, hand in hand, I knew that whatever the galaxy threw at us next, storms of gravity, rogue fleets, collapsing stars, or ancient AI, nothing could ever break what we had built. Because some names, once spoken, are more enduring than stars. Because some bonds, once forged, are stronger than the galaxy itself. Because Salera Vera, mocked for centuries, had finally found her equal, and that equal was me. And together, we would face every star, every challenge, and every mockery, defiant and unyielding as one.